Hi, everybody. Jeanette, Alison, Igor, Nadine, Astrid. Very nice to see you here. I'm very happy to present for you in this morning from the Netherlands. My name is Anneke Sips. I'm a yoga teacher, yoga therapist, born here in the Netherlands. I will talk a little bit more about myself later. I'm also really curious. This is why I was figuring this out a little bit. Like, who is in here? Like, who are you? Since the group is not super, like, extremely big, I think it's nice to check it out. But we can come back to that in maybe in a little bit. For now, if you feel like you want to know something. Yes, hi. I'm a yoga teacher from Irish Yoga Association. Yeah, if you feel like writing it down, like where are you from, in the chat box, then that's really nice for me. Then I know a little bit who is there, since it's a little bit like impersonal anyway, doing this online. We're gonna try to make it as possible, personal as possible. Hi Astrid from the Netherlands, that's nice. And another person from the Irish Yoga Association. Very nice to see you here. Also, what I would like to know is if you, how do you know me, or do you know me already? And are you known with my work and the things that I'm doing? And did we meet, for example? Are there people in there that I know already? Yeah, Facebook group. Yeah, from Facebook. Yeah, Portugal. Oh, great. I just came back from Portugal. Irish Yoga Association. There's a lot of people from there. Astrid Eisenberger. Nice to meet you. Yoga teacher, oefentherapeut, Mensendijk, Holland. Hi, Jeanette. Nice to see you. Great. Mijn naam is Inge, de yoga docent. Eerste kennismaking. So, quite some Dutch people. You see, it's interesting if you get to know each other a little bit. I'm a student yoga teacher in Belgium, so also we can speak the same language, and eager to know your work. I looked at your website this morning and found it was very interesting to read about your work with trauma. Yes, I work a lot with trauma. Looking forward to learning all about you and what you do. Well, thank you. I hope to share a little bit today, and more can follow in the future if you wish. If my first intro. Yeah. Well, great. Hi, Nolene. Also from the Irish. Don't know you, but pleased to meet you. I'm very pleased to meet you too. So great. I'm also seeing there's a little Q&A popping up. Maria from Spain, first time sharing with you. So excited. You're very good communicating. Oh, thank you very much. So from Dublin, and Ingrid, interested in yoga therapy, a teacher from France. Rita from Mallorca, teacher in Mallorca. Hi Anneke, first time to meet you. Nice to meet you, lovely to see you. Also from the Irish group, hi Helen. So let's use the chat for this kind of thing, like more like the informal stuff. Also, if there's an issue, technical issue or anything like this, then the colleague from the conference also will help you with that, and he can answer those questions. If you have a content question, something that's about my presentation or the things that we are doing, please put them in the Q&A. So there's two different ways. Then for me, it's going to be a little bit more easy to figure out how to work here. So if you have a content question about the presentation or the work that we do this morning, please use the Q&A. You can see it all the way down in the in this little line, the Q&A function, just like what Maria just did. And then if you have any other question, or if we are doing something like this, like a meet and greet, then we can use the chat function. Donna is training with the Irish Yoga Association. And hi Anneke, lovely to meet you. It's interesting. I'm not sure how your relationships are with the organizations, but it seems like a lot of people from this Irish Yoga Association. That's very nice. Lovely to see you all, and quite some Dutch people in here. So, well, to start, I will explain to you how are we going to work today. So online is always a little bit different, as you all know, than meeting each other in person. But I always like to try to establish as much as a relationship as possible in whatever time that we work together. This is just the core of my work and my being, which we all know the difficulties in working online, but let's try to make the best of it. What we're going to do today, because we have around, like in total, there's this time slot of 2 hours. So let's see if it's like 1.5 hours, or let's just see how it rolls. If there are questions, and we can use the whole time. We will do a little bit of practice, but it's not like a big asana practice where you will be constantly on your mat. It will be something that we can do just as we're sitting just here in front of our computer. So I like to do it both. I'm really a person who likes to like lecture and interactive kind of lecture and learning processes, as well as asana sessions, but I separate those a little bit. So I'm a yoga teacher and yoga therapist who's also teaching asana online. I do this twice a week in my membership. And then it's like 95% asana practice and a little bit of explanation and talking and connecting. What we are going to do today is a little bit the other way around. So there will be a slideshow and a presentation, and there will be some practice that you will see, you will experience it. It's not that much, but it has always something to do with movement, breathing, sound. So all the elements of asana and mantra and pranayama actually are integrated. So integration is a keyword for me. And slowly, we get to know each other a little bit more. So Hanno, hi, welcome Hanno, yoga teacher from Germany. You mentioned Facebook group. I don't think I mentioned the Facebook group yet, but other people did. So I will explain to everybody that I'm the founder of Network Yoga Therapy. So there's a Network Yoga Therapy Facebook group. And I think this is what people are talking about. So the Spanish Association of Yoga Therapists and British Wheel of Yoga also teach in the Palma prison. Interesting. Yeah, I like to teach everywhere except in yoga schools. Well, not because I don't like it, because I don't have so much time. So I love the work that is happening in prison, in hospitals, in all the other facilities that we can think of where we can practice yoga. So yeah, so that was a little technical introduction and a little bit introduction of each other. Now I'm gonna open a slideshow for you, and that means that I'm gonna be small. The slideshow will be shown a little bit bigger. So the theme of this conference, of this happening these days, which is fantastic, by the way. I'm very grateful that the organization of Zinal exists and that there are people so dedicated to bring a lot of groups together, individuals together, great teachings, great teachers, all the students from all over Europe and even outside of Europe sometimes, I believe, together in this beautiful place in Zinal to learn and to I believe that besides learning about yoga and practice yoga together, this personal interaction is so very, very important. And this building of community is something really, really beautiful. I think what the organization of Zinal and this European organization of yoga is doing for so many years already. I'm a connector and an organizer myself, and well, this dedication is definitely an inspiration for myself. So I'm very grateful and I'm inspired, and I'm happy to be here with you today talking about yoga and, well, for my session, compassion-based yoga. With the team, I try to merge this in the theme of the state of affairs, or the world that we are in today. And honestly, well, I'm doing this work already quite some time, and these kind of presentations, this similar kind of presentation, like talking about compassion-based yoga, I did already 2 years ago in Japan, 4 years ago in Berlin, like, and I feel that right now, in this moment of time, it makes so much sense. I feel that all the work I've been doing for all these years, it makes so much sense in this present time we are living today. And I don't know if you maybe feel the same. As if I was preparing myself and preparing my surroundings for what was there to come or something like this. But I think we all can agree on that we are living in a very special and interesting and also scary sometimes times, um, where the world is changing. A lot of external factors are changing around us, and it moves things within myself as well. So I'm going to talk about compassion-based yoga, and then especially more in a therapeutic way for mental health. So this is very important, I think. I think the mind and our mental state of being is what is, well, what is something that we should maintain at any time. So it's not, there's no such thing as mental health, illness or disease of craziness, I believe. I believe that we are all in a spectrum, somewhere between normal and totally crazy. And we are all somewhere in the spectrum. So it means that we're all equal to each other. We're all human. And I believe that all the mental diseases that are existing are an expression of our human nature, which has something to do with the internal patterns that we created, maybe some scaras or things that happened in our lives, traumas that happened in our lives, plus external factors. Don't forget that we are living in a world with other people, with other interactions, with the trees, with businesses, with parliaments and governments, countries, it all, nature, the planet itself, and we are all interconnected, and we all react on each other. So I don't believe in mental health as something that is crazy or should become a problem. I think it's, well, like I said, it's a human reaction. It's a normal human reaction on things that we are just cannot tolerate, or something that's really hard to tolerate. And I think as a society, as a community, we are also responsible to take care of ourselves and each other in this, because we are connected. Well, this is just a few little points on how I think about things. So if I introduce myself a little bit more formally, my name is Anneke Sips. I'm a registered nurse from the Netherlands. I was born in '79, so I'm 41 years old right now, in the south of Holland. I live in Amsterdam now, our capital. And I started to work in psychiatry when I was young. I was 18 years old as a student. And in that time, I was also a little bit, well, not doing so great myself, as I had a troublesome youth. My parents, they raised me in a religious way, and I got in some conflicts with my father, especially because he was very strict. And just a little background there. There are so many details. I don't have to get into those, but just to give you an idea. And I do talk sometimes in trainings. I talk about the details just to also make some things a little bit clear. But because of the troubles that were happening in my personal life, I felt I needed to do something. And I also started to practice yoga. And in that time, this is like 21, 22 years ago, that was not very common. And especially at that time, I was living in a small town in the south of Holland. It was in Schijndel for the Dutch people in here. And it was not so very common. And it was hard to find a yoga place. So I had to travel a little bit for it. And I found a place where there was a woman and a group of adults. They were breathing very loud, and I was like, I don't know what's going on here. But for some reason, it did something for me, and I kept going. I thought it was very weird what we were doing, and but I kept going anyway. In that time, well, of course, it was very much for my own mental state. I was also 18 years old, and I stepped out of the religion. So the religion, and it was Jehovah's Witness actually, where my parents were part of. I stepped out, and I was a little bit like, religion was not my thing at the moment. I was seeking a lot of answers for questions, but when my yoga teacher started to talk about past lives, I was like, oh my God, no, this is not something I can follow right now. So I found another yoga club, which was an Ashtanga yoga teacher. And in that age, that was perfect for me. She just told me what to do. I did what she was telling me what to do, and I felt really good. And this kind of dedication for movement, for breathing, for this practice helped me in that time. So, well, I was a very curious person. So I asked her where she learned this. She told me, and I went there to the same school as where she went to study more. So I I did a teacher training, actually just for learning more about yoga. I wanted to get more knowledge. Part of the teacher training was to teach yoga. I was like, okay, I need to do it because it's part of this training. I don't really want to be a teacher because I'm a nurse, but I did it anyway, and I really liked it actually. And at that point, something clicked in me. I was like, well, this teaching yoga and this practicing yoga is really good and really nice, and it really helps me. I grew older, like 20, 21, 22. I graduated and became a nurse, and I started to work with young people. And there in the ward I worked, I asked the psychiatrist, can we practice yoga here? Because I did this training, and it's really cool. And it really helps me, and I think it would be very helpful. But she said no. And I was like, why? I don't understand. I really didn't understand where that no came from. So I did not have the words nor the vocabulary to explain myself. And I also didn't really know why it worked. So the only thing I could say was, well, it is really good. We should do it. But she was not convinced, and I was frustrated. So there's another seed was planted, and I was like, I need to figure out why this works and what's going on in me when I practice yoga, because then I can explain to her much better, or to other people much better, why I like this practice so much. So that was the first seed planted in really my questioning of why and what I was doing. And this led me into more the therapeutic yoga and studying more. So I've been studying more and more and more in yoga. I kept studying also more in mental health as a nurse, because I also knew that the more I grew, the more papers I would get, the more people were listening to me. So very interesting in that area. And in my yoga practice, I just was more and more dedicated, where also the Ashtanga came from. So I learned about Krishnamacharya, and the more I learned, also I didn't really feel like being in such a constricted form anymore, and it didn't really feel good if I had to do it perfectly in a certain way, because sometimes some days it would just not feel good, and I didn't want to get injuries and all that stuff. So I was slowly over time letting go this practice of this Ashtanga, and it became more therapeutic. And then I found my teachers. First, Ganesh Mohan. I don't know if you know him. He's the son of A.G. Mohan and Indra Mohan. They were at Zinal actually a couple of years ago. The whole family. This was a very special honor to have them all together in one place. It was a very rare opportunity, and I was very happy to be there in Zinal. But with this family, I'm studying ever since in depth. And well, actually everything I've learned from yoga, I mean, the more in depth, the more like the real studies, I feel like it really went through, through their teachings. And I'm very happy for that, because it really fits me and I feel good about it. Besides that, like I said, I was studying more and more and growing in psychiatry. I became a community psychiatric nurse, and it did mean that people were listening more. And before, like 20 years ago, where they said no to my request on teaching yoga, today I've been called by psychiatrists, can you please bring yoga into our hospital? So it's really the other way around now. And it's just a very, very interesting journey it has been. And in this journey, I created my company. It's called Network Yoga Therapy. And actually what I like to do is bring yoga, health, and science together. And very much from my own like experiences and experiences I hear from the people I work with, the clients, my coworkers. And yeah, to try to create a safe space where we can be ourselves, integrate what we've learn from what we have been experiencing, and all that. So right now, not only they're asking me to bring yoga into their hospital, but also I was setting up a Shvasta. Shvasta is the name of my teacher's like yoga organization, let's say. So they're from Chennai. So my teachers, by the way, A.G. Mohan and Indra Mohan, they were students of Krishnamacharya. So like Patabi Joyce and Iyengar and Desi Kachar, but they were in the time of Desi Kachar, and especially the man, A.G. Mohan and Desi Kachar, they were in the same timeline, on the same time in the timeline. So, and now with them, and especially Ganesh, the son, he's a doctor, I created 200-hour teacher training, and it's especially made for the medical professional. So my groups are mainly doctors, but also some nurses, psychologists, specialists, a lot of general practitioners, but the waiting lists are long, so we always make a new training immediately. So it's very interesting how this works. I was choosing this niche, and it really works out for the best. Besides that, Network Yoga Therapy also does a conference. So there were 4 international conferences in Amsterdam, which I organized, where we bring yoga, health, and science together. So to see where we can find the common ground. And yeah, so this story I always like to share a little bit with you, because I know that a lot of people are also feeling like the internal like something that is pulling them, like a vision or a mission is pulling them into facilities, maybe like war, people with refugees, or like I was working also with refugees in Rwanda, and hospitals, prisons. There are so many places where yoga can be very, very beneficial. There's so much trauma in the world, and so many people who can really use it. So I always hope to inspire also people to think further and looking into that as well. So if you have any questions about that, please just ask me. Not sure if I can answer everything in a very complete way, but I always can give some little ideas or directions as much as I can. So here we are. We got lost. I wrote a manifesto, and I'm still writing it a little bit, but this is one part, the starting point of the manifesto. I was writing this before this whole crisis, this global pandemic started, actually. This I wrote almost a year ago. And this is what I mean, that it makes so much sense right now, I feel. We got lost. We seek the right answer without asking the right question. We seek health, and we got lost in cures. We look for wholeness, and we end up in pieces. We got lost, and it feels unsafe. Or did we feel unsafe, and did we get lost? We are facing a massive disillusionment with existing political systems. We're struggling with the overwhelming pressure of modern life and witnessing the rise of the technology-laden existence where loneliness, chronic disease, and mental illness grows. We live in a world full of information, and yet we starve for wisdom. We're trying to find our way, but many of us in all levels of society faced adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, traumas that create unhealthy patterns and behavior, where it's harder to create healthy connections with self and others. These experiences are often unseen due to unawareness, shame, and social stigma. Disconnection, loneliness, and disbalance follows. we got lost. And well, we know that there's many losses, and maybe you feel that, and there's many losses, many ways in our lives, but especially right now, I think we feel like we are very much in the same boat with some of these losses that we experience right now in the world. And all of our losses, if it's back in life, if it's in the present moment, all they deserve our respect, and they need our compassion and care. So right now in this moment, I would like to get a little pause, to take a little pause with you. And well, we can call this a self-compassion pause, or a little breathing pause, or maybe a little connecting pause. Depends on how this works out for you. But I would like to invite you to just sit up tall in a way that is comfortable for you. And then when you're sitting up tall, your hands, they can just resting down. Maybe for you it feels good to bring one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, or maybe two hands on the belly. You always have a choice. So you can keep your eyes open, you can close your eyes. Whatever feels more safe or better for you in this moment. And I invite you to just be here with me, with each other. Although we don't see each other, but we're all connected here through this medium. Maybe see if you can connect with your breath by just maybe observing the breathing. Maybe you can notice the breath. Like, I feel that my body is moving a little bit as I breathe. I notice that my chest, my belly are gently moving. By observing the rhythmic flow of your own breath, flowing in and out, maybe through the nose, maybe not. We become really aware of our bodies, our breath. Maybe you notice what parts of your bodies are connected to the floor, what parts of the legs. Maybe you notice that you're sitting really still, or maybe you're moving a little bit. Like, sometimes I notice myself start to move a little bit when I try to sit still. I'm okay with that. It's okay. Because there's always an opportunity for me to invite myself to move into stillness. And just breathe. Just breathe a couple of times. Maybe you're a yoga teacher, yoga practitioner. Maybe you do this in a certain way. Maybe you like to use, for example, UEY breath, or another way of breathing. Just let's give ourselves some space to give ourselves some moments to breathe in a very comfortable and easy way. And after maybe 1 or 2 more breaths, you're invited with the next inhalation to bring the arms sideways and all the way up. If you want, you're gazing up. You can also keep your chin slightly down. And the exhale is bringing the hands in Anjali Mudra in front of the heart, all the way down. And from here, with the inhale, we will open the hands like a little bucket. And with the exhalation, we bring the fingertips on our chest. Maybe you want to bring the chin a little bit down there and just breathe 1 or 2 breaths. Before we bring our hands back to Anjali Mudra. So this is the practice of Avahana Mudra. We go one more time, inhaling, bring the hands sideways and all the way up. With the exhale, the hands are lowering down in front of the heart again. Inhaling is opening the hands. And now let's chant a mantra here, like Om Mitraya Namaha. Inhale. Om Mitraya Namaha. And then we bring the fingertips again onto the chest, where you can relax the elbows and the wrists, the chin slightly down towards the chest, and just breathe 1 or 2 breaths there. Before we bring our hands back to Anjali Mudra, let's do this one more time, including the mantra in your own pace. Just go in your own rhythm. You don't have to follow me. Inhaling and exhaling, connecting to the breath. Om Mitraya Namaha. Let's do it one more round. One more round in your own pace. Just following the rhythm of your own breathing. Your inhalation, your exhalation. And maybe there are parts of this practice that have a kind of a meaning for you, or it connects you to something like an intention or bhavana. Maybe this is totally new for you, so maybe it doesn't have that effect on you. Just notice what it does to you, how you feel in the moment. As we practice, as we move our bodies with the breath. And then just letting the hands resting again, maybe on your legs, maybe on your heart and the belly, with the eyes closed for a couple of breaths, just sitting there in silence, observing that what you choose to observe. Maybe your breath, maybe an intention that you are setting for yourself, if this is what's happening for you. Maybe observing your body. Maybe it's really hard to choose to observe something because your body is like yelling for attention, maybe because of pain, or emotions or something. Maybe your body or mind are not allowing you to choose in this moment. Because they're so loud, I don't know. I don't know you. I don't know what's happening in your body and mind. But over and over, you're invited to bring your own body and mind back to safety for whatever, however that works for you. For me, it works to breathe very calmly, using my mantra, exhaling a little bit longer, relaxing my shoulders, my chin, and my jaw. Until I feel that I'm in this state of being where I want to be. Until I notice a certain feeling of calm, peace, that I like to practice. Let's say 1 or 2 more breaths here, just being with yourself. And if you want, you're invited to open your eyes again if they were closed. And just observe yourself, observe your state of being. This was just a very mini practice, of course. But it has a lot of elements in there that I feel are important in a practice. The elements of observing or of mindful observation without judgment. The elements of getting really to know myself and really invest time, energy to really explore myself, my emotions, my body, my breath, and to build a relationship with my own body and mind. I think these are very important basics for any relationships, to really get to know each other and to feel safe. And sometimes you need to do something for that. If we just keep running and blah, blah, talking, I know I am a little slightly rajastic sometimes. I can talk and talk, and especially when I'm passionate about something, I can talk for hours. Like I said, I created this 200-hour program, and it's kind of easy for me to speak for 200 hours, I must say. Of course, it's not only speaking, it's a lot of practice and etc. But you know what I mean. So sometimes it's very helpful to return to silence and to be in there if it feels safe, and to really figure out how that works for myself. And this is very important, I think, to teach other people as well. I see there was some Q&A, and that somebody asked, what is the name of that mudra practice? And I answered in the Q&A, so you can also read it there, Avahana Mudra. And I actually wrote a really nice article about this Avahana Mudra with a background story on Yoga International. I think you might, it's from the, this was originally from the Himalaya tradition. They created this platform, Yoga International, and it's quite big. I think it's one of the biggest yoga platforms there are. It's American. And if you Google Yoga International, Anneke Sips, and Avahana Mudra, then you will get there. You will find the link to this article. If you're interested in this article, and this practice, I'm explaining. And actually, these are like basics of, like I said, of all the work I do. So if you follow me a little bit, you will learn much more about it as well. And this is like directly I learned this from the Mohans, and I'm just translating this with a little bit, of course, in my own words. And with I'm adding things that I've learned from my compassion-based practices and teachings and studies, and of course from working and integrating this in life myself, for my own life, but also that of my students, and in working in psychiatry and in all different kind of facilities. So if you have any questions about it, I will happy to answer a little bit more. At the end of this little presentation, I will also speak a little bit more about it. But back to losses and compassion there. Some losses, we have rituals for that, and we mourn them. We know, for example, when somebody dies, or you know, there's many of these events where we created as a society, or individually, or as a family, or a community, or a country, or a culture, we created certain rituals, and we use these rituals, and it really helps us. But some of these losses, they remain unseen and unnoticed and unread by others, and it can be very very lonely for people to really well, to be there without being recognized or acknowledged with the losses, and without having the right words and vocabulary also to deal with this. And sometimes it's also not very clear what is a loss, because we maybe think that, for example, somebody is dying is a very clear loss, and everybody has some attention in some way or another for this. But what about losing faith, or what about losing faith in something or someone you really trusted, or yourself in certain moments, or even, it's how weird it sounds, losing or leaving an addiction. And it's not always a bad thing, of course, because addictions can cause a lot of troubles, but it's something that was coping, that was a way of coping with very difficult things in life, very painful things, that was there for this coping. This addiction was there for a reason. And the moment that you really say goodbye to it, it can be a relief, and you know, it's also the acceptance of health back into your life. But it's a very weird way also of letting go of maybe a very old friend that you don't need anymore. So, you know, some of these losses can be very unseen, and maybe very different than what you expect of. And the very fact that they remain buried, unrecognized, and unsupported can complicate the mourning and block the process of grieving, and loneliness may follow. Also, a good example is of course, like maybe losing an unborn baby, even though if it's still very, very small. Like a lot of women go through this, and sometimes they're not even telling other people. So they're really like, with this emotion all themselves, or maybe only with their partner. And maybe you know in your own life, or the people you love, that you know enough examples, I think, of this. But dealing with losses and issues and struggles in our lives, how are we dealing with this, and where to start? So to make yoga a little bit more therapeutic, and there's a very big topic, and there's so much to say about yoga therapy. So I'm just choosing one direction or one entrance here on how to go, and it's this compassionate based way of going. But of course, there are way much more ways of doing this. And I'm also choosing to bring it really to ourselves now, to first be our own therapist. So I believe that before we can be somebody else's therapist or healer or whatever, we should really know how it is to be our own therapist. And that's where we are starting here. Really ask ourselves, like, who am I? Hello, that's maybe one of the most toughest questions that will take our whole life to explore. So it's not like very easy to answer that question. But I think it's a very good reflection to start with. Like, who am I in this moment? What am I? Where did I happen to end up? So, what happened in my life? What was my journey like? And what choices did I made in life? What labels do I have now? For example, I'm Anneke, I'm a yoga teacher, yoga therapist, I'm a nurse. Here's is where I am. But where do I want to go? So what is the direction that I'm choosing in my life? So I must know a little bit who I am and where I am at the moment before I can set out a direction. And it's not per se about making these goals for yourself, like I must do this within 3 weeks, I am there. It's not like that. You can do that if this is something that works for you to help you be motivated or dedicated in going in a certain direction, or your client or student. It can help if you want to learn and grow, but it's not per se necessary. Already a direction would be great. But I do feel at the same time that a direction is also needed. So there's a little bit a friction there of not pushing yourself too much, but do gaze in a direction, like your northern star, like where do you wish to go in life? Because without that, I feel we're just doing something, we're just practicing something, we're just doing asana after asana. And why? Maybe because we just follow our teacher, or because somebody else is telling us to do this, or somebody is showing us that we're just copying this, which can be great for learning. But I think it's always very good to still wonder, like, why am I doing this? Is this what I need to go in the direction of my choice? And this is, I think, a very empowering path to go if you start to think a little bit like this, like, who am I? Where do I want to go? And it supports self-leadership. Also, like, maybe you know a little bit about leadership. If you're a leader of a company or whatever, or a yoga teacher, you know a little bit where you want to go, because otherwise you cannot lead the group, you cannot lead. So to lead yourself, self-leadership, you need to know a little bit what direction you choose to go. And this will also, this northern star following, it can be very helpful for you. Hopefully it would become very effortless, and you will be guided. But then how to choose your northern star, or where to find your northern star? You need to navigate yourself there. Because I think it's not something that you can just say, like, okay, today I go left and tomorrow I go right. You can do that to explore everything like that. But I think somewhere deep inside of ourselves, we know we have and this is what I mean with knowledge. Like, we have a lot of information, but we're needing our knowledge, and it's also our inner knowledge, our inner guidance, that knowing of what to do. And sometimes it's very difficult to get there, to really get to our navigation, um, to really feel what we need, because there's a lot of trauma out there, and that keeps us from feeling to begin with. A lot of, like, I work with a lot of traumatized clients already for like 20 years, and for many years now as also a yoga therapist or an individual therapist, speaking, hearing all the people sharing their stories. And trauma is just very numbing. It really makes people not feel. And it's literally also in a way that sometimes I was asking a person, like, can you hold your hand? And I was putting a key in the hand, and the person said, Anneke, I see the key. I see what you're doing, but I don't feel the key. I don't feel my body. I don't feel my body, like literally like that. So through yoga, working with the body is a great start, but you want to go even deeper to not only feeling your body, but it's a good, you have to start somewhere, of course. Feel safe, secure, and feel again. Feel your body, feel your breath. And I think we all have these experiences that if you can really tap into your quiet zone, your feeling of this sattvic feeling, this experience, and all of a sudden you just know what to do and you don't hesitate anymore. And then sometimes we are longing for that feeling. We try to grab that feeling because we like it so much, but we don't know really how to get there. It just happens to us. So, and this is why I'm on a mission. I'm very passionate about it, to help people to find their inner navigation system and turn it on again. To really understand, who am I? Where am I coming from? What direction do I want to go? And what are all the skills and the strengths that I have within me? So that's another question. What are my strengths? So who am I and what made me here? So what am I good at? What's my beauty? What is my 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 genius? And also, what are my challenges? Because we do stumble down the road. So it's also very important to notice, like, where were my challenges and what are very tricky parts for me. So in my journey of life, which is including the yoga journey, it's all integrated, of course. What are my challenges? What are my strengths? And just plant a little flag there, like an imaginary flag, like recreating a map for ourselves. Like, and in this map, we know a little bit where we want to go, but we don't know really how to get there. We need some tools. And we need to know, what are my strengths? What am I good at? What are my challenges? There is a flag. Oh, be careful, because this is very triggering for me. This kind of relationship is always like bringing me down or leads me far away. So I need to be careful there a little bit. Another flag. This is what I'm very good at. So really, milestones. Mark your milestones for yourself in your map. And in your journey to be your own therapist. So I don't know if this makes sense to you, but for me, I'm a very visual person. So if I visualize myself being in a journey with a map, creating my own map, I know a little bit where I wish to go. I understand what are my strengths, what are my challenges, and of course this is changing. And one very important thing, which is not on this slide here, but who are there, like who are there at my meeting points, because you're not alone in this journey. There's all kinds of people stumbling, running, walking around there as well. And all these interactions with people and other beings and animals and things. And how do you interact with that? And do you know who is waiting for you? This is very important, because you are not alone. There are people like you, just on the same kind of journey, maybe sometimes exactly in the same journey, and then you move a little bit here, you meet each other again. We all know that as well. This is why we are here also now, right now. We're meeting each other, and this is wonderful. And if we learn also how to trust that a little bit more, and knowing that there are people waiting for us in certain points, and you're not alone, it gives you so much more bravery and courage to go this path, because it's not easy. It's not easy to walk this path into, into inner peace or happiness. So dealing with trauma, we can also recognize that that there is growth and connection happening. And this is very interesting, I think. I always really like to look a little bit outside of the box and think a little bit differently. Because when we are talking about trauma, in my world, it's very bad, and you have a disease. And in many cases, it becomes another illness and difficulty. And before you know, you have 5 labels. And schizophrenia, bipolar, with addiction and depression and more psychosis and whatever. And it becomes so complex and so difficult that for a lot of people, it's really becoming this bubble, and they don't know how to get out of there. They're looking into the shadow, and knowing that the light is on the other side. It's always, if you stare at the sun, the light is in front of you, the shadow is behind you. It's always like this. So if you turn around, it's the other way around. But for many people, it's really hard to understand that we can turn around and the light is there, because without light, there wouldn't be any shadow. This is a very natural logic, I think. And because we are numbed by the situation and the things that happen to us, and it's really hard to feel sometimes, and this is all true. This is our nerve system. It's not us to blame. It's our nerve system is just doing something that helps us to survive. That's all. But in that whole process, we need some things in our map. Like let's come back to the map example. What do we need? What kind of tools do we need in our map to find our way? And optimism is a very important one. And I think maybe like together with compassion, the most important one, to feel optimistic about the future, or knowing that there's possibility, instead of just looking at the wall and thinking there's no way out there. It's very difficult for a nerve system to feel safe in that kind of situation. It's like, you know, and if you cannot breathe, then the nerve system is reacting. It's just surviving. And when we're constantly in our survival mode, it's just not healing. It's surviving is something else than healing. So how can we get back in our healing mode, which is the journey in itself, is optimism. And thinking about trauma in another way, like traumatic growth, instead of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, for example, a personal journey of connection. So this is actually also research. It's very interesting. The link under in my slides, you can see the link, is pointing towards this research. So there are people in the world who are using this. It's just unfortunately not the core. It's not the main work that you see in psychiatry and mental health to happen. There are 5 phases for post-traumatic growth, like what can you learn and how can you grow from trauma? So how could it be beneficial for you even? It's a very interesting way of looking at it. I think it's said that it gives an appreciation of life that maybe was not there before the trauma. It can build relationship with others in a way that could be having more in-depth, or in a very fruitful way, in a beautiful way. New possibilities in life. It's gaining personal strength, and in many cases also spiritual change. And I've seen this happening in my work as well. But there's just very often not so much attention for this. We're so much focused on the dark and on the difficulty, and in a more pessimistic view of, well, I guess you need to deal with this. I was working together at a conference with a woman who had all the diagnoses you can think of, and her name is Eleanor Longden. She's from the UK. And she has an amazing TED talk about it, Eleanor Longden. She was diagnosed schizophrenic, and with hospitals, medication, everything you can think of. And she is explaining very, very, very beautifully how this whole experience in itself was really helping her even to become the person that she is now, traveling the world, speaking about her experiences in a very inspirational way. Spiritual change very often happens, and I see this in psychiatry a lot, but in psychiatry we have no clue how to deal with that. In yoga, I see that also very often people are not only coming to yoga because we all know why people go to yoga. They want more peaceful in their mind, they're stressed, they want a better body, they do it for sports. But a lot of times there's also spiritual reasons. People are looking for divine outside, or maybe inside of themselves. And so I see that yoga for many reasons, but also for that reason, could be a very interesting and beautiful practice to use when we're dealing with trauma and in the development of our own healing process. Let's see. There is a question. I will, Eleanor Longden, and she did a TED talk also, so check out her TED talk. Well, okay, first things first. Let's see if there are questions about this. So I was speaking about trauma, and like I said, I can talk for 50 hours about this, about what is trauma and everything, but it's not per se for this moment useful, I think. Um, but I'm just curious about you. How do you feel about this? What are you thinking if I speak like this? Do you have questions? Um, anything that you anything that you want to know? Well, another thing that is important to say, like, because I was talking about trauma and how it very often like shows in the body and in feelings of the body and not feeling the body. Um, this is also an interesting point, is that trauma in our medical point of view, we're really looking at it as a psychological issue, and it gets psychological care. So talking and also medication very often. And if we even especially um, there's this group of scientists, and that idea is very much growing also in Western science, but especially in yoga. We already knew all these things for thousands of years. The idea that the body is very much involved in this. I don't know if you ever heard of Bessel van der Kolk. He's a Dutch scientist, but he studied and he lives in America. And he's a like world trauma specialist. Like, he is really a very big specialist and appreciated by the trauma world, like the medical world. And this Bessel van der Kolk, I've been also in trainings with him, and I read his book, of course. The Body Keeps the Score is his research, and in Dutch his book is called Trauma Sporen. He is saying that before you feel safe in your body, before you feel your body, all the talking does not even make much sense. So we must integrate also our body in therapy or in any therapeutic intervention. So it's very interesting, and there's a big lack of that. So in the world of trauma, there's a lot of need actually for more of these kind of interventions. So this is why also a lot of psychologists and doctors are also way more interested now in practices like yoga, also other body-mind practices. And these are also working, but yoga has a very special formula that makes it very interesting, I think. But it's actually there's enough backup of research to really say that it's very needed to use the body, integrate the body and physical parts into therapy of trauma as well. In case of depression after trauma, how can you get by the appreciation of life? Well, that's a big question, Astrid, because then we are talking about depression after trauma, and I'm thinking, okay, but about who? Who is the person? What depression? Depression is a word that is used in a clinical way. Like, is this a clinical depression, or is it like in the Volksmond, in how people speak about depression? Is some people say, oh, I feel depressed today and tomorrow I feel better. So also the word depression is a little like, okay, what is actually going on? So I would like to know much more about this. Like, what is the depression? What is going on? Who is the person? What happened? What was the trauma? Is it really after trauma? Is it still in the process of healing? And how can you get by appreciation of life? Yeah, how can you start to appreciate life again? That's a very good question. Yeah, it's very interesting, but it's not a question I can just answer like this. But I think everything starts with a roadmap and getting a little bit grip on your life and understand your journey. And this is one of my things that I like to do, is help people to just make things a little bit understandable for them. So what I was just showing you, this little picture of who am I, where do I want to go, what are my challenges, and my explanation, this is also what I would do with the clients. I was just like, okay, this is where we are. And then we just go from there. And then all the time leaning back. So it gives like this framework of, what am I doing here? And then, of course, we didn't talk anything about the tools yet, but then what tools are we using in that process? There's asana, because this is yoga therapy. So we speak a little bit, we talk a little bit because we need to figure some things out, but then we start with the tools. We have asana. Why, what asana, and how are we exploring that asana? And do I tell you the asana, I tell you what to do in the asana, or am I inviting you to let your body find the asana itself? You feel the difference? And do you hear the difference in my language and my vocabulary? I invite you to let the asana be found by you in your body. It's very different than I'm telling you what to do. That's more what trauma is like. I'm telling you what to do. Do this. That was traumatic. The nerve system says, yes, I know this. I'll do that because otherwise I'm in trouble. Otherwise I'm not a good student. Otherwise I'm not a good yogi. Otherwise I do it wrong. Yes, let me just do it the way it should. Or are we building a new foundation for ourselves where we are free? What kind of foundation do we want to build for ourselves? Where we are free to be able to choose again, to give ourselves space, where we can feel safe. And this is a space where we can find our own healing, and where we can help another person to find healing. So yeah, it's very difficult to say, but I would at least start with some logic, like, whoa, here we are, and whew, I'm depressed. Now what? I want to appreciate life. What is that? What is appreciation of life? And what is life? And wow, there's nothing to appreciate. My God. When was the last time? Like, I would ask somebody, for example, what was the last time that you really appreciated something? Even it's very small, like, or if that's somebody cannot really come up with anything, I would really work with that. Like, let's start to practice appreciation. Like, let's learn to appreciate again. So maybe right here, right now, just like, wow, my hand is like moving and I can drink my tea, and it's, wait a minute. I really appreciate that. It's really great. It's good for my throat, and wow, and you're listening to me. I appreciate that as well. So what can we appreciate in life? I don't know. I'm just, because Astrid, I don't know anything about your situation. I'm just throwing out a little bit of different examples and things there that could be beneficial. And then start practicing. How can we appreciate our practice here? Do we appreciate our practice? Start with that. What mantra am I using? Do I appreciate mantra? Or am I just using mantra because you're telling me to do? No, I really appreciate it because it has a meaning for me. Can we work on this meaning? Can we work on bhavana? Can we work on explanation of what is sattvic, what is tamastic, what is rajasic? I get to know myself. Wow, I appreciate this so much. Okay, but it's over. Appreciation is gone because I'm depressed. So it only lasts for a little bit. Hey, what can we do to let this appreciation last a little bit longer? I don't know. Things like that. So I don't know, Astrid, since I cannot see you, no clue if this is at any point a little bit helpful for you. Let me know if it does, if it makes sense what I'm saying. Yoga Gore, what helped you most to let go of the trauma relating to your father? Wow, that's an interesting question. Thank you for asking. Well, it's a long story, of course, because that's like, that was like, I'm still working on it in a way, not that much anymore, but you know, things, triggers pop up sometimes, and I'm saying, oh, I didn't know, like, for example, rejection, or when there's a breakup, then I feel that, then I'm triggered again, like, and it happens sometimes in life when you're dating, and breakups can happen. So, and then I'm like, I'm not 100% healed yet, I noticed, but it's okay, I can deal with it now. So, but in this whole process, in that whole journey, there were many things that really helped me very much. And one thing is that I started off, because he died in a car accident. So our issues were, we didn't speak about it, and then he died. So that was the thing that was difficult. So I was really learning about that. I was reading the Tibetan book of living and dying at age 18, and that was for me very important. And I learned so much, and I noticed that I became more safe around the subject of dying in itself. And so without that barrier and with more understanding there, I could dig a little bit deeper. And with a practice and just a general practice of appreciation and gratitude, and also forgiveness, like all these positive psychology practices, really helped me to also point that out towards him and that situation. Like if I would start out like, this is the issue and I need to forgive him, it's not really working like this. Like I was like, yeah, but there things were happening, and how can I do that? And when I gradually just practiced forgiveness as a general thing, I became a forgiving person. I became forgiveness. And no matter who or what was on my path, it was way more easier to forgive. And I was practicing a lot with small things and little bits and pieces of forgiveness. And also especially towards myself, and especially in practices like yoga, where I was integrating my body, my mind, my breath. It's so personal. It's so including everything me, that in that time on my mat, that was the most important place to really practice these things like forgiveness. And means also that, a little example, when I was practicing Ashtanga yoga, I was actually honestly feeling a little bit bad yogi because I was not doing it exactly 100% right. I thought these were all my crazy thoughts in my head. Later on, I learned that I was actually not doing it wrong. That was something that was in my mind, and also a little bit pushed by my teachers who told me that I was doing it wrong all the time. But when I was reflecting on that and I've learned that I didn't do it wrong, I was really like, I'm okay, I'm good, I'm nice, I'm beautiful. And the more I practiced this, the more I became this. And this was really helpful in my journey. And yeah, this is just in answering short. I hope it makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I hope this also answers you a little bit. And I like to answer these questions because it's I think it's an integrative way of teaching and of explaining well, the core of what I'm trying to teach. Yeah. You're welcome, Louise. Yeah, but it's it's part of my personal story. It's my story, and I choose what part of my story that I want to share, that I don't want to share. And it's really also a very beautiful practice, I think, to really set boundaries and who I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat at the same time. To who I am and what do I want to share. And actually for me, it's also a sign of growth and a sign of traumatic growth to be able to speak about it. And I see this as well in my clients. When there's a story unspoken, it can be very challenging to deal with that. And I learned from Stephen Porges, who is another person I invited at my conference last year in Amsterdam, the yoga therapy conference. He's a scientist. He's hardcore scientist. He's not practicing yoga. He's just pure scientist. But he's the one who is the creator of the polyvagal theory, which is extremely important, which is very much in all my work. It has a very big influence in all my work, the polyvagal theory. It's about safety, fight and flight, and freeze responses. And we all know, I think we all heard of that. And what we try to do is bring ourselves in safety, but we do act, our nerve system reacts in fight and flight or freeze responses. And this Stephen Porges, who is this scientist, he is also saying that once you are able to find the words, the vocabulary for something where you are freezing or fighting or flighting away from, then that means it's a sign of healing. So I recognize that for myself when I'm able to speak and not speaking like, okay, I just throw it out there. No, just calm. In a very sattvic way, I'm speaking about things, means I'm very, very much healing in certain parts of my story. Yeah, you hear so many terms also. I use sattva, rajas, tamas. I think you're all a little bit familiar with these terms. You hear me talk about the polyvagal theory. In my work, I bring it together, and it's not just me, but this is also what I learned from Ganesh Mohan and what I learned from research and the years of practicing and trying out. It is working really like this, because this safety zone, I also call this the green zone. This is where I'm working towards. With my plan, with a strategy, we're working to be as much as we can in a green zone. Sometimes there are triggers because we have patterns and things happen to us. There are triggers, and sometimes we react, our nerve system reacts. Green zone, you can relate to that to sattvic state. So what we want to do is we want to create tools, practices, asana, breathing practices, pranayama, meditation, mantras, anything, any tool that you're using. Very important to realize is what you're doing is one thing, but how are you doing this? In what state of being? And you can recognize that afterwards. So this is why I just asked, when we practiced a little bit, after at the end, I asked, how do you feel? What state of, how is your state? If you feel very rajastic, then maybe maybe your practice needs to be slightly different. If you were really like falling asleep and like, whoa, gone, like super tamastic, then maybe it needs a little bit more energy, so it becomes a more sattvic quality there in that practice. Because our practices are our routines and rituals that we do very often. Everything we do very often is what we're becoming. If we are, well, yelling all the time or being angry at people, we become an angry person. If we practice sattva, we become more sattva. So as sattva, connecting to this green zone, this polyvagal green zone, is helping us to heal. So the tools that we're using in our strategy are sattvic tools. We learn, we study, we try to understand more and more what are sattvic and what is sattvic for me, because what's sattvic for you is not per se sattvic for me. And this is how a yoga therapist is working, like really figuring that out together and empower the person actually to figure it out for themselves. Stephen Burgess, let me see, I am typing my question. Stephen Burgess. I also did a super interesting, nice interview in the beginning of the Corona time with him for my membership. In my membership, I invite guests, and he was, since we know each other now, since the conference, I invite sometimes my old conference guests as well. And this is still just there in my Facebook page. There's a Facebook group, there's a Facebook page. So if you go to Network Yoga Therapy Facebook page, there you see all kinds of interviews, also one with Stephen Porges, very interesting, and how he speaks about dealing also with the times as they are right now, and our nerve system in that. Can you find the medical sector receptive to your way of combining both? Yes, Donna, thank you for your question. More and more, but still, still it's not super easy, but more and more. Like let's say I just finished a trial, research in a hospital here in Utrecht, which is an academic hospital and one of the most academic places in the Netherlands. And they asked me actually to bring yoga, and which I did. And I started with adolescents with psychosis, and then I was doing like the whole psychiatry department, just all the groups in psychiatry. So the psychotic youth are there. Then there's the adults with all kinds of psychiatric issues, and the children. So with them, I did compassion-based yoga therapy. So this is a trauma-informed, polyvagal approved way of teaching yoga, very classical, traditional yoga, what I've learned from the Mohans, but then shaped in a way that, that is appropriate for the person in front of me with psychosis, depressions, a lot of autism, kids, the children, there's so much going on with our children. Like, it's so needed. And what they need most is compassion. They need space, and they need to be seen and to be anyway. So yes, it's more and more receptive, but still. And I think it also helps because they look at me as a very down to earth. The way also my vocabulary is not very well, difficult to understand for them, because I'm with one feet in one field and the other feet in the other field. I really can meet them also where they are. So if I start talking about all kinds of jargon that's super spiritual, then maybe they're a little bit like, nah. But if I speak in their language, it's much more easy to step in. And in your opinion, so thank you, Donna, for the question. And Chris is asking, in your opinion, every physical problem related to something psychic, mental issue? I don't know. Well, I don't know. I'm always a little bit careful with saying everything or nothing or always, or you know what I mean? So every problem connected, I don't know. I think many times there's a connection, and sometimes a very strong connection, and sometimes also an unknown, like we don't really know. Or I hear a lot of people, and also including myself, sometimes I have this feeling, I have my gut feeling, like for example, I had a thyroid problem. First it was too fast, which I was not so surprised by. And later on it was too slow. Very weird, because very often it's or too fast or too slow. But for me, it was like a few years later, it was too slow. And in my opinion, I'm 100% sure it had to do with stresses in my life at that time. Like I lived in America, I was engaged, I was about to get married. I did not get married. I moved back to the Netherlands. It was so big for me. That was, oh my God, I didn't know what to choose. It was so difficult, big life event for me. At that same time, for the first time in my life, I had thyroid problems. For me, it was 100% linked, but there was not any doctor who would ever confirm that. But anyway, so for me, it's true sometimes, but I'm not a person who's gonna say that it's always like that, because sometimes I also just break my finger, and I don't know. It's not. There's no reason for that. It's just, I think, I don't know. So thank you, Chris. Looking at the time a little bit. So let's do a little like a self-assessment exercise here, and being our own therapist. And this is actually, I borrowed it from Tara Brach. She, you see also all the way down, you see the resource, the source of this thing. She created this rain concept, let's say, and then the letters are standing for something. And let's just walk through this. And this is just a tool, like there are so many tools. And when I'm somebody's yoga therapist, we practice yoga, and especially actually I'm helping them to develop their home practice, because it's, once a week or once in 2 weeks with me, it's one thing, it's interesting, but it's much more important that they do something at home more often and regular, I think, because then they show that they're motivated to do it. And also the more often you do it, and even more often, shorter times is better than once a big time. Oh, and also answering that for earlier question, I actually do see my clients now. I have my group of clients that I see individually within a mental health institute. So I'm a yoga therapist within officially a mental health institute in the Netherlands, means also is 100% covered by insurance, which is great, because I have a lot of clients that way. Like if I want, I can fill 7 days a week with it, but I don't want to do that because I have a lot of other work to do. But it's because I'm also a nurse. So we're not there yet, that it's implemented in a way that it's covered by insurances and all that. And honestly, I was really pushing for that a little bit, but seeing the current affairs in the world, And the way I see things are changing, even in our very liberal country of the Netherlands, I'm not sure if we're going in that direction. I have the feeling that slowly we're going away from that direction. So me, but maybe this is a very visionary idea. I am not really trying again to get it, trying anymore to get it covered too much by insurance. And because I also don't want them to have too much influences in what I do, because if the insurance is paying, they also want to say something about it, and I think that's not always so good. So I'm more focusing on how can I bring this to many people without health insurance. A very different topic, but I would like to say it anyway. Yeah. So self-assessment. Let's just walk through it together, and you can, if you want, make also a screenshot. You can make a screenshot and or something like this if you like to do it. And another time, you can also find it easily online if you Google this. The R stands for recognize, and you might begin by simply acknowledging that an emotion is present or a feeling is present in the body. Of course, very beautiful task to integrate in a yoga practice, because we're moving with our bodies. We whatever, even in yoga nidra, even if you're not even moving, we can start to recognize and simple acknowledge that an emotion or a feeling is present in the body. Just that, and just breathe there. Give yourself some space, and give your client or your group, little group, some space. Because then the A is for allowing. So when you become aware, then the next step is to allow it. Don't fight it. Don't escape, deny, or project it. Don't try and fix it or to avoid it, but just allow. And you could think of this as a gentle saying yes to your heart. And maybe then you start to feel a little bit ready to investigate. So the I is for investigate. And in this stage, we are creating space to be curious about this experience, and investigating inspires you to remain objective, drops your story about reality, and see yourself with innocence and your story through innocent eyes, which opens new perspectives, and a deeper understanding often surfaces in this stage. Investigation also comes with kindness. So it's not a hunt for the truth. It's about connecting. Curiosity. Investigating with curiosity. Really start to enjoy like this absolute truth. And this hunting for the truth is super disconnecting in general. In general, this is just, I think, a very general truth. If it's political truth, left or right, if it's your personal truth, if it's you and your partner's truth, if you're battling about the truth, you're going to lose both. If you find connection, you'll be both winners. And then the N finally is for nurture. So not only does this include self-care, nurturing and self-care is way more. It's about a state of being. It's not only drinking a cup of tea and I feel chill. It's about having this chill state of being, because then you bring it in anything you do. Drinking a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, or walking on the street. And maybe even being chill as a state of being, or this is an example, or forgiving, or relaxed, sattvic. And maybe even when there is trouble, maybe you can conquer that with a more sattvic state of being, if this is who you became. Apply to yourself and Also, this nurture can be applied to others. So compassion and care to yourself, but also to others. Nurture is the state where you forgive yourself and your world for anything wrong, hurt, or mistakes. And if you cannot forgive something, then that's also fine. Just forgive yourself for not being forgiving. So it's fine. It's really, really fine. Find a comfortable closure. So being your own therapist. Maybe it's not the ultimate truth, it's not the ultimate closure. Maybe no confetti, but just close it up. It's okay. We can move on, finding comfortable closure, going from struggle to strength in your journey where there is awareness, judgment, your judgment, I mean your inner judgment that you're creating. Where direction, what is good for me, what is not good, where do I put my boundaries, what direction am I going in my journey of change, what kind of rituals am I using, and am I using these rituals in a certain way that it becomes a lifestyle, so a state of being. So with awareness, creating the judgment, creating change within yourself, using rituals, like of course the rituals in yoga, which is a super complete method to work on these. So in order to create a lifestyle that supports your wholeness. Remember in the beginning I was starting with we are lost, my manifesto, we're lost, we're scattered, we're looking for solutions and cures, but we end up being scattered even more because we drink a green smoothie and we think we are healthy. we are we're not we're not always there yet, but the more and more we practice, we understand that all these pieces are coming together into one whole, and all these pieces are us. So all these, also the broken little bits and pieces, all together is the wholeness that we are. So we're stimulating our soothing system, our green zone, our safety zone, our you know what the Stephen Porges is saying, this is the area where we feel safe, where we feel we can recognize also what we need in our lives. And we can set our boundaries. We feel strong, we feel dignified, we feel empowered. So also, how does that look in the body? Is this a dignified position? Am I like feeling very safe? Or is it this? Or what is it? Is it maybe this? And what kind of practices do you need to feel like that, to be like that, to behave like that? So recognize and locate your green zone. Understand that, the safe area, feeling safe, calm, and in connection with yourself. Soothing, nurturing that system. Sometimes we're getting triggers, we pop out, but we know we have the skills to bring ourselves back. One skill, for example, super simple, breathe, exhale. The exhale is a direct way of helping us to relax. It counts for everybody because we're humans, we have a nerve system, we all have a breath. Exhaling long helps us to get back into our green zone. Yeah. But if you are whatever traumatized doing exhalation, it could be that this is not working for you at this moment. So you first need to work on something else before it becomes safe again. But in general, working with the breath and especially the exhale is helping us to get back in our soothing system. And over time, we develop a compassionate mind. And with the help of others, we're not alone. We're not alone. We have our like-minded people around us that are on our journey. We can walk together at some parts. We can support each other. When I'm tired, somebody else is helping me, giving me support. We must do it together. And meanwhile, we develop a compassionate mind going forward in the direction of inner peace, the states that we wish to go. So we use yoga, and with yoga we train sustainable self-care. It's not something that we just do and it's fixed immediately. It's not a quick fix, although sometimes it can feel like that, and it can be like, with a breath or with a yoga practice, you can feel really good. But overall, it's a practice that is a sustainable self-care that long-term will come with solutions. This is why yoga is so great. And this is also why I think yoga is nicer than other practices that gets a little bit of this. So a little bit movement with breath, or a little bit mindfulness with movement, or a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I think the real core of yoga has it all. So there, everything you learn in like all the Buddhistic teachings and meditation and mindfulness and compassion, and it's all there. I mean, Yoga Sutras 1 verses 33 and the verses under that, it's all about compassion and kindness. You know, the 8 limbs of yoga speak about the breath. It's about it, everything is in there. If you really study the text and study and practice yoga, the traditional wisdom, support yourself, get to understanding with a scientific approach, and you practice it, practical application, you will figure out that everything is in there. And if you know how to how to create a strategy for yourself, means how to create a practice for yourself that is really beneficial, you will go in the direction of your truth, and it's actually within. So like we were doing with this mudra we were just doing. So it's not about what's happening outside, but it's what's happening inside. All of that, all of us, all the potential, all our potential is within. It's in the seed, within our hearts, within the heart lotus. So there's this lotus within ourselves, inside of us, and through the practice of pranayama with the mantra, it will open, it blossoms. It's called Hidrayam. This is the space actually where we were pointing in that practice, what we were just doing. And this space you can measure also with your hand. If you place your thumb on this little space here, this little hollow space, you put your hand there, and where the pinky ends up, this is where is this space, where it's called the heart lotus, the heart centrum, or in Sanskrit, Hridayam. So I was just locating it like very scientifically with my hands, biologically or whatever. But we can also locate this with feeling. And this is what the practice will lead us, hopefully. But this is where my practice is leading me. And it took me some time because I started off very practical, very Ashtanga, and very physical, and I became strength and all that, and I studied more and I learned more, and it's really something of the past few years that I start to investigate that how to locate that place within my inner navigation system through feelings. So yeah, it's a very beautiful process actually, and that's where I am in, that's where I'm at. So let's practice together just one more time, and now I'm inviting you to, with a little bit more explanation, to really start to connect with the movement, connect with the body, how the body moves, how the breath is moving, and how you connect the breath with the movement. The mantra, so the sound you're making, maybe you feel a vibration from within, is very subtle feeling. Maybe this is not, you cannot feel this, that's fine too. Maybe you can hear it. Maybe you don't want to do it out loud, you do it within yourself, that's fine too. The mantra works as well doing it silent than doing it out loud. So it's more important for me to invite you to choose, you start to make your decisions, to feel what is good for you in any practice that you're doing, in this sample practice here. Of course, let's start doing this. One more thing. Well, now I put Shanti here, but let's just do the same as in the beginning. Mitraya Namaha. Mitra is one of the names of the sun in Sanskrit. From the sun salutation, there are 12 names. This is the first one, Mitra. It's called the sun. But more in the symbolic way, it has a meaning of befriending the sun. And then when I say the sun, it's just a focus point, because we also want to practice, we want to teach ourselves to focus on something. So this is the meditative part. We choose to focus on something, and we are developing a way of keeping the focus on our chosen element for a longer time over time. So here in this practice, I invite you to focus on the sun. And then I don't mean per se the sun, which is high in the sky, but I mean the qualities of the sun. So the qualities of the sun, like expansion and light and warmth. So bringing that bhavana in the practice, so focusing on the qualities of the sun, this bhavana is included in your practice. And over time, maybe if it feels okay for you, right? Over time, this will, you will become those qualities of expansion, lightness, warmth, because you will not seeking them from outside, but you feel them from within. And this is the journey, and this is just a journey, and it's, you will have all the time to step in this journey. And I hope that I was giving you a few tools to explore this a little bit with me. So let's practice together. Instead of Shanti, let's chant Mitraya Namaha when we are opening the palms of the hands, right? So just be there with the breath, just exploring with awareness, with kindness, curiosity, the place where you're sitting, the air that you're breathing, the body that is holding everything together. And from there, I'm just inviting you to relax the shoulders, relax the body to the fullest. Relax the eyebrows, chin. And once you find your sweet spot, you're feeling relaxed enough, I want to invite you to just start practicing the arms up with the inhalation, as if you're reaching to the sun, bringing all these qualities down with the exhalation towards our heart center, our heart lotus, Anjali Mudra all the way down. Then we're opening our hand palms with the inhale. Om Mitraya Namah. And bring my fingertips again on my chest, recognizing the qualities within myself that help me in my journey, help me in my path, to recognize who I am right now. As I relax my body, I breathe gently. Bring the hands again, Anjali Mudra, and in your own pace, in your own time. Let's continue 2 more times. Breath is calm, comfortable. You're aware at the same time. And in the exhalation, connecting to the movement. So breathing and moving, connecting to our intention, to our mantra, to our sound, our voice. And back with the fingers on the heart. And one more last time, making this practice Tiram Sukham. So comfortable and with ease. From a place of love, maybe. Connecting yourself with yourself. Through the breath. With awareness. With the sound. Your time, your pace, because it's your practice in your life, your healing, it's your journey. And thank you. I am thankful that I can be part of your journey. That you trust me enough to be a little bit part of your journey. And well, we together here, only a very little part. Yeah, thank you. But this is really how I feel also as a yoga teacher, as a yoga therapist, grateful being part of somebody's journey. That really means a lot to me when people trust me this way and trust their stories. And we have space to learn from each other, because I've learned as much from my clients and my students as they learn from me. So it's a very, very beautiful practice, I think, to be a yoga therapist, especially in these times. So thank you so much. I hope this was useful for you, because that's what's very important to me. That's what I've learned that's what I learned from my teachers, that some things in life and in studies and in practices are fun to know, or like interesting to know, or necessary to know. And I hope that there were some parts were maybe fun to know or fun to learn. Maybe also there were some parts that were really useful for you in your practice, in your journey. Well, I do believe that human connection never happens without a reason. So we're here together in this webinar online, me from the Netherlands, you from everywhere. And I guess there's a reason for that. And I'm just super grateful to meet you. I love human connection. This is why it's also kind of challenging this time, because we are so isolated, and I really thrive on human connection. So the more we connect, the better, and even if it's online. So this is why I also created the Bridge by Network Yoga Therapy, which is a membership. It's 20 euros per month, and then I teach 2 classes a week. Like a little bit similar to what I was doing here, but this is just a super, super small part, but it's all about self-empowerment and exploration. There's all the students and everybody I work with are in there. So there's a group of healthcare professionals in the Bridge. There's my clients, my colleagues, yoga teachers and therapists are in there. So who are just like to practice together. So it's really about self-practice, and these sessions are created for that. So it's not me telling you what to do, but it's really me guiding you into a space where I'm helping you to develop your practice and practice your own practice, and have some more psychological insights with it. So there's often a theme, and it's always about empowerment and self-care and compassion and all these interwoven in these practices. And once a month we are getting together all together as a community, so we speak with each other about our journeys. So this membership is about that 2 times a week, a session of yoga. Once a month there is a meetup all together, and there are guests like this Stephen Porges and other people are guests in the practice. So if you have questions, we still have some time, so let me know. Francis says, thank you very much for a great session. We still have like 5 minutes, so if you have a question, don't hesitate. I will answer. And if there's no time anymore, if it's too difficult, then I will just figure out to share my answers in another way with this organization, and it will come to you. So take the advantage of just being here. There's no question as stupid, so always just give me what is on your mind. Also, I'm interested to hear how you feel about what I'm saying, if it makes sense, or if you feel like this was really like weird stuff. What has this to do with yoga or anything like this? Let me know. Like I'm really Really happy to hear everything. Oh, a lot of people were in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, wow. I'm so happy that that this was inspiring for you. I'm really enjoying your chat. There's a question here. Why do you think there's a lot of autoimmune diseases? Yes, because, oh, I think chair yoga would be beneficial, of course, and especially for people who cannot stand. Chair yoga is very beneficial. I do say all the functions we have, people can walk normally, yeah? People can walk and stand. So if people can walk and stand, please make them stand and walk. Because if you have a function that you can still use a little bit and you're not using it, well, you will lose the function. But if you really lost the function or it's too painful to stand or for a long time, use a chair, please. Because it should be pain-free. Every practice should be pain-free. Mental pain, physical pain-free. Yoga should be beneficial. So can you speak on this more generally? Yeah. So yes, practice with a chair at any time. And it's not about being in a chair, not being on a mat. It's not about the Lululemon pants. It's not about all of that. It's about you and your intention and the bhavana and the practices that you start to feel how you're creating over time inner strength, and that is really in practice that is helping you forward. And it doesn't matter if it's helping you forward on your chair or in a wheelchair or on the ground. I hope it makes sense. Like I said, it's so much to talk about. And what did you say about autoimmune diseases? Yeah, big topic. Why do you think? Well, we are not eating healthy foods. We're not, even if we try to, if I plant my own plants, the soil is just not good enough anymore here in the Netherlands. So you listen to a doctor called Zach, Z-A, I will type, Zach Bush. He speaks about that. He's amazing. Check him out. He's a doctor, and he speaks about how we need to go back to nature and that we are destroying nature. This is also very, we are really find it hard to stay very healthy. Let me see, there was one more. Well, I'm very happy to see that you were grateful and that you were happy and that it makes sense to you. Looking forward to learning all about you and what you do. Yeah, please do. And like once we know each other, I'm super accessible also. The people are in my network, you just get my phone number, and if you have a question, you just WhatsApp me. It's really that simple. Because I am, after 20 years of acting difficult, I'm just done with acting difficult. And it's not the time anymore. We're going to connect. If you have a question, you ask your question. I'm going to answer if I can. And, it's all just about love. Let's just love each other and connect with each other and just do the work. It's time. Hi, Anneke. Yeah, member. Let me see. Thank you. Inspiring. Sitting in silence to... thank you so much. I hear the phrase once, sitting in silence, I reconnect life's scattering pieces. I love it. Yeah. Thank you, Karen, for that note. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Well, thank you a lot for being here. Like if you were not here, if you were all not here, I wouldn't speak. So thank you very much for being here. Yeah, really heal yourself first, and that we can do. So be your own therapist is very important. I'm really talking a lot about this on Instagram as well. Like I'm just using all the things that are out there. So Facebook, yes, network yoga therapy. But on Instagram, you can best use my own Instagram page, because I think network yoga therapy on Instagram is hacked or something. I cannot get into it anymore. Very stupid. So I cannot use it anymore on Instagram. But Instagram at Anneke Sips, my personal page, I'm very active. Almost every day I'm sharing things. So just following me there. And yeah, I'm a teacher training for Yoga Sadhana. Congratulations for your special class, Anneke. It was so close, touching, and full of light. Namaste. Oh, thank you so much, Maria. I love this comment. I'm a teacher training. Oh yeah, that's the same one. Super. You didn't answer my question. Janet. Oh, Janet, can you Can you tell me one more time what question you had? I can try to answer it. And Chris is asking, are these sessions in the bridge live? Yes, it's live. And then there is a dashboard, and I put the links in the dashboard, but also the links to the classes. So if you cannot join them live, you can also look at them later. And they stay in there for until the next class. So always I teach a class, let's say, then after that, immediately the same day, it's online. So you can look at it later. And but I like it to be live because I like interaction. So that's why it's only there for 24 hours or short, because I like to help people to get their life. But it will be there for online. It will be there available if you cannot be there live, but not that it has an ending there, because when the next class comes, the next class is there. You understand? So in your work, yoga teacher training only for health workers who work in, yes, in my teacher training, this 200-hour training, that's right now only for healthcare professionals, or any, well, also there's sometimes a manager who works in healthcare or something like this, but mainly doctors, nurses, psychologists. But I do a lot of other trainings. So in November, for example, there's an in-person training. I hope we can do it. And I start soon again with an 8-week Be Your Own Therapist, compassion-based yoga online. So if you check the website networkyogatherapy.com, you find all that. All the classes are in English. So everything I do is in English, unless you speak Dutch and we speak on the phone one-on-one, then I speak Dutch to you. But it's in English. Only, by the way, the doctor 200-hour training is in Dutch right now. But I hear more people from other countries want to join, so I'm thinking to make this in English and online as well, so people from European countries, doctors and nurses can join. But the membership and everything is in English. Online, everything is English. So, yeah, I guess we're there. Wow, 11:30. It's also like timing. Like, I'm normally not the best in the timing, because as you can tell, I'm pretty excited and a little bit majestic also, but also very excited and passionate about my work. And but now we are here. We are at the end of this presentation. Again, a big, big thank you for being here. I wish you all the best, love and light and strength, and especially courage and bravery to go inside, find your truth, and stay with that truth as long as you shall live. Thank you very much, and hope to see you again somewhere. Bye-bye. Yeah, I'm always leaving the last, so I'm just waiting here until the person from the conference is saying goodbye to everything. I will just...
So, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Perfect.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. If you stop sharing, then we will see each other again.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
How was that? How did you...
It was lovely, Anneke, and lively. Next time, we can have a Zoom meeting instead of a webinar, and then you see all the video screens.
Yeah, that's better, because then I can speak with the people. I like it a little bit better, yeah, but it's okay, yeah. Or maybe the recording is still on. Maybe turn the recording off and we can reflect a little bit. Oh, is it me? This